Welcome to the second part of inflammation and healing. So, first part we have dealt with the introductory part of inflammation and healing, where we try to know about the definition of the inflammation and even we try to classify the causes of inflammation and how exactly the signs are produced of the inflammation. So, we have studied in the part 1 of inflammation and healing, and also we have dealt with the content of inflammation of healing. So already we have covered with inflammation, definition, causes, signs and types. So today we are going to start with the inflammation, that is first type, acute inflammation, where we are going to elaborate about the vascular events. So going for the acute inflammation, as we already know, it is of short duration. Acute inflammation responds by the host to any agent in a continuous process, but for the purpose of discussion, it may be divided into two events, that is vascular and cellular. As we know, this particular acute inflammation, it lasts for from seconds to the hours, right? It will not extend more than that, and it has its own self-limiting process. It start fast and it ends fast. So for the purpose of understanding, we have divided into two events, that is vascular event and cellular events. The point of remembrance here is these two events are going simultaneously in the body whenever there is a acute inflammation occurs. It is only for your understanding we are dividing into vascular event and cellular events. Don't feel that first vascular events happens then cellular events. It is not like that. Both the events are going simultaneously in a human body. For only understanding, we have divided into vascular and cellular events. So going for the vascular events, so this is only the alteration in the microvascular. When we have talked about vascular, right, it name itself says that there is a changes in the vessels we are having, especially the arterioles, capillaries and venules is the earliest response to injury. So whenever there is a injury occurs, it is the first response which is coming from the vessels, and there is a alteration in the microvascular. So these alterations, we have two events which is occurring again in vascular, that is hemodynamic changes and changes in the vascular permeability. So first we are starting with the first part of vascular event, that is hemodynamic changes. What exactly hemodynamic changes means, right? So we have different sets of changes occurring at the vascular level. So the vessels are showing some responses to injurious agents. So that is immediate type of responses what we are having. Okay, so irrespective of the type of injury, immediate vascular responses is of transient vasoconstrictions of arteries. So as we know that we have two types of reflexes, one is conditional, one is unconditional reflexes, right? Already you have gone through this particular condition and unconditional reflexes in your physiology. So same way as our body responds, our internal organs, internal vessels, nerves, everything will have this particular type of reflexes also. So whenever there is an injurious agent comes or any type of injury occurs, our blood vessels give a response, that is they constrict, right? So there is a constriction occurs in the vessels. For example, suppose this is a normal vessels we are having, right? So there is a flow which is occurring inside the vessels. So you can see this is a blood flow which is occurring, a normal occurring. So whenever there is a any injury occurs, right? Whenever there is a injury occurs, so our blood vessels, they go into a process of vasoconstriction. vasoconstriction. So here you can see there is a vasoconstriction occurring at this particular level. So vessels are going under vasoconstriction. Right? This is what exactly immediate after the injury occurring, and this particular response to the form of injury of blood flow may be reestablished within a 3 to 5 seconds. So it doesn't last more. So it is a response which is occurring in seconds, and with where injury vasoconstriction may be last for about 5 minutes. So the duration is from 3 to 5 seconds to maximum of 5 minutes it is occurring. So first response we have seen that there is a transient vasoconstriction of the arteries takes place. Moving further, next response we are having is a persistent progressive vasodilatation, right? So followed with constriction. Once the vessels is constricted, now the vessel is trying to get to the normal form, that is vasodilatation is occurring. But here you have to remember that as fast as vasoconstriction is occurs, the vasodilatation never occurs. It is a progressive type of process, right? As we know that happening a disease is faster, but recovering from the disease is a, a set of sequence has to be followed to get the normal, right? Same way here also the vasodilatation is a progressive process where the dilatation will occur at a given point, that is it takes little more time than the vasoconstriction. So involve mainly arteries but a lesser extent affect other components of the microvascular like venules and capillaries also. This changes is obvious within half an hour of an injury. So there we have seen in vasoconstriction it from the seconds to maximum of 5 minutes, but here we are taking it to half an hour to an hour, right? So it takes little more time for dilatation and bringing back to the normal condition. So vasodilatation result in blood volume increase in the blood volume in micro vasculature bed of the area, which is responsible for redness and warmth at the site of acute inflammation. That is what we are talking about signs of inflammation. The signs of inflammation where we are talking first is a redness and there is a heat which is produced, that is nothing but the warmth, right? So these signs are dealt with these particular vascular events in the body. So this is last for half an hour to 1 hour. Moving for the first, next process which is occurring at the vascular level after the inflammatory injury. So next is progressive vasodilation. In turn, may elevate the local hydrostatic pressure, resulting in transudation of fluid into the extracellular space. This is responsible for swelling at the local site of acute inflammation. So here we are producing with the one more signs of inflammation, that is swelling, right? So here we can see the because of this vasodilatation progressive one, we may have elevation of local hydrostatic pressure which is resulting in transudation of the fluid into the extracellular spaces. So here the point of understanding is that so whenever there is a vasoconstriction occurs, so already we have seen, so this is what exactly the vasoconstriction occurs, right? So once vasoconstriction occurs, so the blood which has to be flowing, right? So the slowing of the blood flow occurs because of the this particular vasoconstriction, right? Now this is taken half an hour to 1 hour, so there is a vasodilation will be slower and slower. Because of this slowing of the vasodilatation, so the particular we try to understand in this particular picture, this progressive vasodilatation which is going to occur, right? Now the blood which has to be flow at the speed, it is not going to flow at that particular speed because there is a constriction at the vessel level. So this will slow down, right? This is because of the constriction which is we are having here, right? So the slowing of things will give rise to increase in hydrostatic pressure at the vessel level. So here we are having hydrostatic pressure which is going to elevate. So there is an elevation of hydrostatic pressure occurs. Because of this hydrostatic pressure elevates, so definitely the fluid move from higher concentration to the lower concentration. So here the oncotic pressure, right, at the extracellular level is going to be at the lower level because your hydrostatic pressure is increased. So because of that, the fluid in the vessels, the plasma, will start moving out of the vessels. So because of this moving out of the vessel, right, this particular fluid is called as a transudate. So here it is a clear plasma protein or the fluid which is moving out of the vessels. These are called as a transudation. A process is called as a transudation and the fluid itself is called as a transudate. You have to remember that particular part. I feel you understand the concept of transudation and how exactly your progressive vasodilatation will cause the transudation and how the inflammation processes increases. Going for the next part of the sequential event, that is slowing or stasis of the microvasculature follows with causes increased concentration of red blood cells and thus raise the blood viscosity. So as we know, there is a vasoconstriction and there is a progressive vasodilatation is there. So definitely in the blood vessels, in the blood vessels, there is a sorry, so in the blood vessels, in the blood vessels, because of the progressive vasodilatation, the particular blood flow will be slowed down as there is a, you can say, vasoconstriction or little blockage at this particular point. So the blood flow will have slow down as we understood in the last point. If it is slow down, so definitely the blood viscosity will increase because increase in the concentration of RBCs. So the RBCs will be collected at this particular junction. So you have plenty of RBCs are going to collect, and because of that the blood viscosity is increased. And second point which is contributing here is the transudation, which already we have discussed, and the reason is the plasma is moving extracellularly and only the components, that is RBCs, are remaining in the vessels and it is making the viscosity increased. I feel you understood this particular point. Very important that you understood this particular sequence in inflammation. Going for the next part, that is stasis or slowing is followed by leukocytic margination or peripheral orientation of leukocytes, mainly the neutrophils, along the vascular endothelium. So here, as we say, the blood flow slow downs, then we have there is a increase in viscosity due to the increase in the RBCs. Also, one more process is occurring, that our WBCs, right, especially the neutrophils here, are going to go for margination, right. So these particular leukocytes are flowing down to the endothelium of the vessels, right? And this particular process is called as a margination, and the process which is occurring is called as a immigration. So the leukocytes stick to the vascular endothelium briefly and then move and migrate through the gaps between the endothelial cell into the extravascular spaces. This process is known as a immigration. First we have a margination, then after margination there are some spaces which is laid down in the vessels. So these particular neutrophils will move out of the vessel wall into the extracellular fluid. This process is called as a immigration. So now you have to remember here that I feel so you have studied again in first year that we have a process, that we have a flow in the vessel, that is a axial flow of the blood. Now here the axial flow of the blood is lost. Axial flow is the components are flowing at the center and both the sides, the upper side and below side, or the round of the component we have plasma protein, and in the center we are flowing with the all the components of the blood, means it is RBCs, WBCs and platelets. This axial flow is disturbed because of the injury and the inflammatory reaction begins. So here this axial flow is disturbed and the all the components are moving towards the sides, right, to the margins of the endothelium, right? And this the process which we are occurring is the leukocytic margination. The RBCs, sorry, the leukocytes are moving towards the vascular endothelium, and this will get through the margins, and there is a space provided where the vessels are having the damage. From there the moving of the leukocyte takes place, where it is called as the immigration of the leukocytes. I feel you have understood this particular point. Now this is what exactly the sequence occurring here in the first part, that is the hemodynamic changes, right? And this particular hemodynamic changes is explained by a demonstration by Lewis experiment. So the Lewis person, he has given a particular different picture of this particular hemodynamic changes in his own experiment. So the Lewis introduced changes in the skin of inner aspect of the forearm by the stroking, firm stroking with a blunt point. So this is the experiment Lewis has done to understand and to explain the hemodynamic changes which is occurring in the inflammation. So he has seen that whenever we have a firm stroke on the forearm, the body, the particular part gives a triple response, or also called as a red line response, consists of three things. One is red line, which appears within a few seconds following the stroke. So whenever we give the stroke, within a few seconds we can see a red line is formed at the forearm. Second, we have a flare, right? Is a bright reddish appearance which is surrounding the red line. And next we have is a wheal, which is a swelling, or also called as a edema, or as we have understood, that is a transudation occur at that particular time. So the fluid moving outside the blood vessels at the extracellular, so there is a swelling. So this is what exactly the Lewis experiment we are talking of. So we have a redness, right? So we have a red line, we have a flare, right? Then we have a wheal, that is a swelling at that particular point. So here you can see all the three responses which is occurring at that particular point. Okay, this is about hemodynamic changes and the vascular event of inflammation. Moving further for the next point, that is altered vascular permeability, which is explained with the Stirling's hypothesis. So this speaks about the Stirling hypothesis. Actually, so already you have studied this Stirling hypothesis in your physiology, right? So we are just revising one more of physiology here. That is how, what exactly this Stirling hypothesis is. There are two things. One is forces that cause outward movement of fluid from microvasculature are intravascular hydrostatic pressure and colloidal osmotic pressure of the interstitial fluid. So here it says that whenever a fluid is moving outside the vessels is mainly because of intravascular hydrostatic pressure and colloidal osmotic pressure. First thing. Second, forces that inward movement of interstitial fluid into circulation are intravascular colloidal osmotic pressure and hydrostatic pressure of the interstitial fluid. So here, if there is an inward movement occurs in the microvasculature from the interstitial fluid is mainly because of intravascular colloidal osmotic pressure and hydrostatic pressure of the interstitial fluid. So this hypothesis we have to remove. So whenever there is a inward movement, the outward movement is there from the vessels is because of intravascular hydrostatic pressure and colloidal osmotic pressure of the interstitial space. If there is an inward movement from the interstitial space to the vessels is there, then it is because of intravascular colloidal osmotic pressure and hydrostatic pressure of the interstitial fluid. So this is how exactly it occurs. In the normal process, we can see that the hydrostatic pressure and the colloidal osmotic pressure, which balance the fluid movement in the vessels and interstitial spaces. So whenever there is a transudation is there, first we go with transudation because we already talked about. So whenever there is a transudation is there, so we see that hydrostatic pressure is increased. So this particular hydrostatic pressure is increased here, right? The hydrostatic pressure is increased here. Because of that, the movement of fluid is more in the extracellular spaces, right? Interstitial spaces. So in case of exudation, what exactly exudation is? So I just want to clarify what is exudation. As we know, transudation is fluid moving from vessels to the interstitial or extracellular spaces. Exudation also moving of the fluid from vessels to the interstitial spaces or extracellular spaces, but with the inflammatory cells. Here the process of inflammation is there, right? So the inflammatory cells also moving through the vessels. So this is called as a exudate or exudation, right? So this is called as a exudation, right? So here also occurring is fluid movement because of the processes which we have known about, the increase in hydrostatic pressure, there is a vasodilatation and stasis takes place, and leakage of fluid and proteins because of, as we say, there is a damage process is there where your WBC and leukocytes are moving outside with the process of margination and immigration, as well as the fluid also moving with the leukocytes, right? So this is what exactly occurs. So whenever we talk about inflammatory cells, they are nothing but leukocytes. Always remember, these are the leukocytes. So one more examples I have given for your fluid movements, right? So from the vessels, okay. So this is what the normally we are having, the normal leukocytes, the plasma proteins and endothelium, where they have a axial flow here at the center, right? So plasma proteins and all are at the periphery, and this is the normal endothelium, and this is a normal tissue what we are having at the normal level. So, so whenever we have a retraction of endothelium, right, retraction, that is a constriction, okay. So here we are having there is a flow is there, but from the endothelium, right? So we have moving the things outside the vessels, right? So the tissue level is filled with plasma protein and WBCs, and in the endothelium injury also we have movement of only plasma protein where there is a no WBCs are moving outside. This is one more example I have given for fluid movements, right? So same way the arterial end, we have venular end, right? This is arterial end, this is venular end, right? So this is hydrostatic pressure oncotic pressure and hydrostatic pressure. So hydrostatic pressure at the arterial end 30 mm Hg, at the venular end it is 12 mm of Hg, and the osmotic pressure or oncotic pressure which is 25 mm of Hg. Right? Then we have this is at the tissue level. So we are having tissue tension which is 4 mm of Hg, then oncotic pressure of the interstitial space which is 8 mm of Hg. We have lymphatic flow here. Then if these particular things, all the pressures at the normal level, we have normal fluid exchange and we don't have any sort of edema or any sort of fluid movement at the tissue level. If there is a increase in any of the things or decrease of any of the things, that is, if there is a hydrostatic pressure increases either in the venular level or the arterial level, then we can find the process of fluid movement. Or if there is a decrease in osmotic pressure or oncotic pressure, then we can have fluid movement in the interstitial fluid. So here we have given an example of decrease in osmotic pressure because of vasodilatation. Because of vasodilatation, so there is a movement of fluid in the interstitial spaces and there is a formation of edema. So this is what exactly the process occurring in inflammation. Right? So lastly, we are talking about mechanism of increased vascular permeability. How exactly the increased vascular permeability takes place? We have 5 points where it increases the vascular permeability. The mechanism which is occurring. First is contraction of endothelial cells. So there is a contraction takes place because of injury, right, which is occurring. Right. Next, we have a retraction and endothelium takes place. So there is a retraction of endothelium takes place as the time progresses of the injury. Next, we have direct injury to endothelial cells. If there is a direct injury which is occurring at the endothelial cells. Next, we have endothelial injury mediated by leukocyte. If there is a endothelial injury is taken place because of leukocytes, right, there is an increase in vascular permeability. And lastly, leakiness in neovascularization. So if there is a new vessels are producing. New vascularization is new vessels are developing. In these new vessels, if there is a leakiness, if there is a gap and the fluid and the things are getting leaked. So in that process also there is an increased vascular permeability. So these are the 5 points where the mechanism of increased vascular permeability takes place. Right? So this is all about today's lecture, that is inflammation and healing part 2, where we have talked about acute inflammation, right, and the first event, that is a vascular event in the acute inflammation, right. So here we are trying to know what are the vascular event, that is hemodynamic changes, and we have explained all the processes from vasoconstriction till the stasis, what are the things occurring. And lastly, the second part of vascular event, we have talked about altered vascular permeability. Hope so you have understood the concept. Any queries, please be free to ask. Right? Any types of difficulty you are having, post it in WhatsApp personally or in the group or in the Google Classroom. Any queries you are having, because this is a crucial chapter, very important chapter, because each and every process is having the inflammation. So we have to remember that particular thing. This is a very crucial topic, right? And the big topic we are having. So this is the end of the part 2 of inflammation and healing. So we meet with the next part, that is acute inflammation with cellular events. Thank you.